This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
Today's video is brought to you by ZBiotics. We got a problem in the country. Many problems in the country, but one fundamental problem right now is that Republicans and conservatives, even those that should be bound by duty and honor and fealty to the Constitution of the United States, they don't. They don't care. And Brett Kavanaugh and the entire 6-3 Supreme Court is suspect. More than suspect. There's all kinds of questions that are swirling around Bart O'Kavanaugh that don't involve his love of beer, that are more serious, like who paid off his credit card bills and a number of different questions that need to be answered. But when we talk about impropriety and we talk about the confidence in the institutions of the United States, the Supreme Court is front and center as being unreliable, as an independent arbiter of what is going to be justice in America. And this is exemplified no more than with Brett Kavanaugh going to Christmas parties, just partying it up with Matt Schlapp and Mercedes Schlapp and Matt Gaetz and Stephen Miller and Erick Prince and Sebastian Gorka. It's gross. And up to this point, we have allowed justices on the Supreme Court of these United States to kind of police themselves. And I think we all know how that ends up working out with actual police, and even up to and including justices, seated justices on the Supreme Court of this United States. That's a problem, is it not? I'm going to read a little bit from this Newsweek article, and I'm going to read you the entire guest list of party time here with Brett Kavanaugh. Some of these individuals have cases that could very well be before the Supreme Court. And what would you expect? Would you expect Brett Kavanaugh to recuse himself? I mean, Justice Thomas, Clarence Thomas isn't doing that. In cases so important to the United States that they may contribute to the crumbling and ruin of our very democracy. We're going to get to all of this. Before we do, a word from today's sponsor, ZBiotics. While I often look like a suit on camera, this guy loves a good time. You probably figured that out, though. With the holidays approaching, I expect some later nights than usual as I look to count the blessings of this year and what it has brought. I'm no longer a spring chicken, which you can also probably tell, and having a few can cause real trouble the next day. My solution, ZBiotics. ZBiotics breaks down the alcohol byproducts responsible for rough mornings after drinking. If you too enjoy drinks and friends, but have a busy day on the horizon, ZBiotics is perfect for you. Just one ZBiotics before you start drinking is all you need to have an enjoyable night or day and still be productive tomorrow. Get 15% off of your first order of ZBiotics pre-alcoholic probiotic when you go to zbiotics.com/Dollemore or simply click the link in the description below and use code Dollemore at checkout. Engineered by PhD scientists, ZBiotics is real science that works. Every time I have ZBiotics before drinking, I am shocked at how good I feel the next day. It's now my go-to, as I know I can easily get up and get working in the studio, even if I went out the night before and stayed out a little late. You too can feel this good the next day. Give yourself or your friends the gift of better tomorrow with ZBiotics. Support this channel and score 15% off of your first order when you go to zbiotics.com/Dollemore or simply click the link in the description below and use the code Dollemore at checkout. Remember to drink responsibly and keep it classy this holiday season. So here, reported by Politico, like a long, weekly playbook or something that they do, and it was way down this information way down the page, which to me is a failure of journalism, that this is a story. This is something that's important to every American, and they're burying it. This is from Politico. Spotted at Matt and Mercy Schlapp's. Her name is Mercedes, or she goes by Mercedes. Matt and Mercy Schlapp's annual Christmas party at their Alexandria home on Friday night. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, Representative Matt Gaetz, and Ginger Gaetz, Sean Spicer, Alex Acosta, Sebastian Gorka, Stephen and Katie Miller, Chad Wolf, Greta Van Susteren, and John Cole, Laura Schlapp and Brian Wells, Brendan Carr, Representative-elect George Santos, Aaron and Nick Perrine, Erick Prince, Peter Davidson, Stephen Holland, and some other people. So this is very much a problem. It's very much a problem because we cannot count on themselves to honorably recuse themselves for their self-dealing, their partying with people who will have cases before the court. Reading from Newsweek, this article, Brett Kavanaugh partying with Matt Gaetz raises questions. Do you think? Do you think? Concern was raised by progressive activists and some legal scholars after it emerged Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh attended a Christmas party along with a number of prominent right-wingers such as House Representative Matt Gaetz and Stephen Miller, formerly a senior advisor to Donald Trump. While Supreme Court justices aren't bound by the same rules as federal judges, they are expected to maintain high ethical standards. Well, if they're not bound by it, what's the expectation? Why hasn't Congress, which has a constitutional authority to organize the courts, why have they not voted in a code of conduct for the Supreme Court? The same Congress that can't even regulate themselves as far as stock trading. Are we to expect them to hold the Supreme Court accountable, even though it is their constitutional authority at stake? Speaking to Bloomberg Law, Professor Tanya Jacoby from the Emory University School of Law in Atlanta said Supreme Court justices should be extraordinarily careful in not only having no actual ethical difficulties, but having no appearance of an ethical conundrum as well. Miller, speaking of Stephen Miller, speaking of the white nationalist, speechwriter and policy advisor for Donald Trump, Miller is president of the America First Legal Foundation, which he said will protect America First and last and always using relentless litigation and oversight. I've talked about CREW before, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, and they tweeted this about this particular incident. Brett Kavanaugh attended a private holiday party on Friday night at the home of CPAC chairman Matt Schlapp, and that attendees included Stephen Miller, whose group America First Legal Foundation has interests in cases now pending before the Supreme Court. So are we to believe that Justice Kavanaugh, Mr. Noble, not at all sexual assaulter of women, Brett Kavanaugh, is going to do the honorable thing, the right thing, the ethical thing, and recuse himself from those cases that are before the Supreme Court? Of course not. Of course not. Because he's a lying hack who lied in his Senate confirmation hearings while getting appointed to the Supreme Court by Donald Trump. Lied about, oh yes, Roe v. Wade is precedent upon precedent. It's without question. And then what did he do? Voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. Voted to strip away not only 50 years of precedent, but a constitutional right for hundreds or 150, 175 million women in America. But why would we expect anything different at all? I'd love your thoughts on this. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. If you're into supporting my work, helping produce my work, click the join button below this video. Become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. Both those are great ways. One's not just for the podcast. It's all one pool of production funds to help do what we do here. Not only here, but also Brittany Page's channel, which if you haven't already subscribed, go subscribe to Brittany Page's channel. Follow me on social media. I am at Dollemore on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.